Okay, in this segment, we're going to be focusing on the the discovery of upgrade materials for our bows. We've already found the upgrade materials to get our hatchet to +4, but now we need to get, at the minimum, our short bow to +3 or higher, and at a minimum, our long bow just to +3. In order to do that, we need to get a lot more level 1 smithing stones and quite a few more smithing stone level 2s. Now, I'm not going to go through all 3 locations from top to bottom. That'll be too much of a spoiler. I want you to find the things for yourself. But I will be taking you to the locations, starting you off within the areas, and then I'll let you find all of the stones yourself and take care of the boss yourself. I will at least show you the beginning of the first area and the boss of the first area so that you can see what a boss strategy would look like using the bow. Because I will be using the hatchet within the areas, but then use the bow for the actual boss. So let's make our first transition. And actually, let's take a quick look at the map. There are going to be 3 primary locations that we're going to go. One of them we've already found. That was the Raya Lucaria tunnel that we were in near the very end of the last video. The next is Limgrave Tunnel, which is right there. And the Moor Tunnel, which is right there. We're going to go to the Moor Tunnel first, simply because we've already got a grace point right nearby. So let's go ahead and travel to that. And let's get on our mount, and we're going to head over to a bridge that's being guarded by a warrior. I'm just going to jump right over top of him so that I don't have to worry about him. And I'm going to head straight down to that map point, which I can do by making a left right here. And I could either jump down to that spirit well, which would get me down there, or I can actually drop straight down right here as well, because it is not a long drop and it will not hurt Torrent, our wonderful horse. And then we can head right here to this cavern or cave, and here we go. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to be primarily using the hatchet to make my way through these tunnels, and I recommend that for you as well. The reasoning behind that, and actually let's go ahead and sit at our grace point here. The reasoning behind that is these tunnels where you will find smithing stones. They are being mined by very heavily armored non-humans. They aren't wearing armor, but their bodies are encased with crystal or some kind of extremely hard rock. Because of that, slashing doesn't work very well. Hence, my hatchet by its own does not work very well. But they are very susceptible to the Hoarfrost Stomp. Now, they do take good piercing damage with your arrows. But we're limited on arrows, and we don't have a lot of spending money right now. So let's try and make this as easy as possible. But let's still make sure to learn how to deal with bosses with the bow. Now, in every one of these tunnels, there's a fairly direct route and an indirect route. And I'm pretty sure that this particular tunnel has... Yep, right here. And this is what a smithing stone looks like. If I can get it to... There we go. So that was a smithing stone level 1. Now the good news is anytime you find these, there's almost always a secondary location to drop down, or secondary way to drop down. And there we go. So that's what we were going to be looking for. And the color gold is going to be your indicator that it is a smithing stone. If it is white, that is a somber smithing stone. Now, we don't need any of those at the moment, but over time you will. Alright, so here we go. Now, this particular tunnel actually has regular non-humans, fleshy non-humans, as protectors of those that are doing the mining. So you can get away, actually, with using your bow. So, for example, there we go. So in this particular tunnel, we're going to be jumping back and forth between hatchet and bow. But I also don't have an unlimited amount of bow or arrows, so I'm going to need to be careful. That's what I meant by the Hoarfrost Stomp. And there's another smithing stone level 1. Alright, from here, I'm going to go ahead and finish taking care of the rest of this area. I'll see you at the boss door. Okay, here we are at the boss door, and I have collected all of the smithing stones and somber smithing stones in the area, except for, don't forget to look around when you get to a boss door. There's a last somber smithing stone level 1. Now, I have readjusted my flask, so I've been running 4 health and 3 focus. And I have been using my bow, and I've also been using the Hoarfrost Stomp before I got here. So I'm not sure how well I'm going to do against this boss, but I'm going to try and do bow primarily, and we'll see how it goes from there. That barrage works nicely. Thankfully, this boss is kind of slow, so... but he does have a reach. This is the Scaly Misbegotten. So I used a nice combination there of barrage as well as regular arrows, and he gives me the Rusty Anchor and 2,000 runes. Now, I used 24 arrows at 20 a pop, so that was, what, 800? So I did make out, but I probably could have done a better job against that particular boss. So let's go ahead and head back real quickly to the entrance. We'll go back to the Church of Ella, restock up on our arrows, and then we'll go to the next location, which is Limgrave Tunnels. Now, from the Church of Ella, we'll be able to get to the Limgrave Tunnels fairly easily. But, as you can see, it is nighttime, so we are going to want to go during the day.
Always a pleasure.
So let's first of all restock up on our arrows. We've currently got 36. Remember, you're only allowed to carry 99. Excuse me, you're only allowed to carry 99. So after everything was said and done, I still have 1,800 runes left. Plus, if you did find everything in the tunnel, then you did find a golden rune level 2. So that's an extra 400. So overall, not too terribly bad, but this is going to be what you're going to have to worry about as you go through with an archer build. You're going to have to really make some mathematical decisions on whether or not you want to use the bow, making sure, knowing that you have to spend money on arrows, or whether you're going to want to just go ahead and use a secondary weapon. The other thing to keep in mind, and I was thinking about this between the last segment and this, for special arrows, and we're going to be finding merchants that sell fire and poison arrows in the last video, they are much, much more costly. So we're spending 20 runes an arrow for standards. For fire and poison, they are 120 an arrow. Now, obviously, you're going to only use them in special circumstances, but you really need to make sure that you know when to use them and when not to, and that you're going to be getting enough runes back from those bosses or enemies when you do. Something to very much keep in mind. Alright, let's get back on our horse and head over to Limgrave Tunnel. I do recommend that if you are going to be crafting any arrows, and there are certain types where you're going to have to, then I do recommend whenever you see a sheep that you go ahead and farm it. They do produce thin beast bones, and those are the primary ingredient for all of the bone arrows. The best way to get there, I think, is to go... Yeah, it's to go around this way. So go past the original ruins that we've already cleared. Now, you are going to want to be very careful that you stay close to the wall, because right there at that fire, I'll just say a boss will show up. And you do not want to aggro that boss too soon. Make sure that you're ready for that boss. The good thing is it is a boss that is designed for archers. Okay, so this is the Limgrave Tunnel. And just like in the previous one, there is going to be a secondary location back here. And you can see how dark it is. This is where the lanterns really come into play. If you're wondering or have ever played previous Souls games, you might know that fall damage can be very detrimental to your health. And that is still true in Elden Ring, but it is not nearly as so as it was in any of the Souls games, Bloodborne. Sekiro didn't even have fall damage. Sekiro was one that if you just fell, you took a little bit of damage but didn't die. In this particular game, there is fall damage, but it doesn't take effect for a much larger distance than it was in previous games. So, let's go ahead and start on in. Now, this particular tunnel does not have any of those protectors like the last one did. Everybody is made up of these crystal miners, or hardened miners, if you will. So, for anybody that is mining a smithing stone, we'll use Hoarfrost Stomp to make it easier on ourselves. And there's two. And from this point on, I will let you finish clearing out the rest of the tunnel, and I'll meet you at the boss door. Okay, here we are at the boss fight for Limgrave Tunnels, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not expecting this one to go well. I've never fought this guy with a bow, and I have always struggled with this guy even when I have fought him. So I'm going to try the bow first, and we're going to see how it goes. But if I do have to make the switch to Hoarfrost Stomp, I will. see, I'm only doing a little bit of damage to him. I was afraid of that. It's a very tight area. Yeah, he has a big AoE. We got it. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. A lot of arrows, though. That cost me 43 arrows for only 1,800 runes. So it wasn't really worth it. I probably could have done a little bit of a better job had my longbow been upgraded. The good thing is, though, we have now, or we should have, collected enough runes, or enough smithing stone level 1s to absolutely get our bow to +3. So let's go ahead back to the Church of Elo real quick, and let's take a look at what we have as far as smithing stones are concerned, and then we'll head to the last location. Yeah, the key with the trolls is just run between their legs. Get away from them. But when that one particular troll, because he had that quadruple slam, you had to make sure to stay far enough away from the AoE, which meant you had to keep running. Alright, we should be able... First of all, let's take a quick look at our inventory. So I started with 5 level 1s. Clearing both of those tunnels, I now have 22. So you should be somewhere close to that. And the reason I say close is because I actually got 2 or 3 because of drops from enemies. So you might not have the exact number, but if you started at 5, you should have collected somewheres in the neighborhood of 15 or so to get you to 20 plus. More than enough to upgrade the short bow to +3. We already have a bunch of level 2s, so we'll upgrade it as far as we can. And we should be able to start upgrading our longbow as well. So, let's go ahead to here. Actually, no, let's go back to the round table hold. Okay, let's go talk to... our friend here.
Well, I took you no matter, it's all as out, you're up.
Okay, so short bow. We are now at +3, +4, +5, and +6. And because we collected level 3s in Liurnia Lakes, I can actually get it to +7. Now, as far as the longbow is concerned, +1, 2, and 3, and we even have enough level 2s to get it to +4. Now the key is going to be, And we still have over 2,300 runes, not including what we've been collecting from golden runes. So here's the great news. We still have another tunnel to go through, the Raya Lucaria tunnel. Now, in the Raya Lucaria tunnel, we're only going to clear it, or try to clear it. We're not even going to bother with the boss fight. It's too soon. We're not a high enough level yet. We're not doing enough damage. So we go get as many level 2s as we can, get our longbow to +6, and then we are in a great position, once we level up a few times, to go after the first boss. So let's go ahead to Raya Lucaria, which, if you'll remember, is up here in Liurnia Lakes. Now, just like the Limgrave tunnel, everybody in this tunnel is a crystal-based non-human. So the Hoarfrost Stomp is going to be our best option for taking care of them. So, for example, this guy right here. Now, you'll notice it takes more than one. You see what the hatchet does on these guys. Not much. Somber Smithing Stone level 2, if we needed it. So, we're absolutely going to need to be much more careful in this particular area. But all we need to do is get some level 2s. We don't even need to actually clear the entire area if we don't want to. There's one right over there. But I'll tell you right now, it's a pain. It is a serious pain to get. And I'll be honest, this particular area is a bit of a pain anyway. Well, after my wonderful death, I will let you go ahead and finish clearing out as much as you can. Once I have cleared out as much as I can, we'll pick back up and we will upgrade our longbow to +6. I just wanted to show that to you really quickly. These guys are so strong because of their crystal form that the Hoarfrost Stomp is the only way to take them down. They do take some damage, obviously, from the arrows, but it was 19 points of damage. It would take a lot of arrows per person to actually take them all down. That's the reason why we use the Hoarfrost Stomp early on in the game. Now, are there other options? Yes, there absolutely is. If you would like to swap out your hatchet for a blunt-based weapon, a mace, Morningstar, flail, hammer, things along those lines, you absolutely can. But you're going to have to completely change how you plan for your upgrade materials, because all of those items that I just listed, they either have different attribute requirements, or they require smithing stones, just like your bows do. So you would end up not having your bows at a high enough level for later on in the game. Something to keep in mind. Okay, here we are outside Raya Lucaria Tunnel. And where are we with upgrade materials? Do we have enough for the longbow? Let's take a quick look. Our longbow was currently at +4, which means we need at least 4 level 2s to get it to +5. I only have 3. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is the Raya Lucaria tunnel is one of only 2 tunnels that provide smithing stones in Liurnia Lakes, just like there are 2 tunnels inside of Limgrave. However, this one provides both level 2s and 3s, and I actually collected more level 3s than I did level 2s. There are some other level 2s throughout the area. I would need to find one more in order to get my longbow to +5. But the primary is to get the short bow to at least +6. We got it to +7. We can actually get it to +8. We don't have it enough to get it to +9, but we do have enough to get it to +8. So why don't we go do that real quick, and then we'll wrap up this video. The next segment, we're going to do the last bit of collecting of merchants and one additional resource that's really going to help us before we head into our final fights. So back to Round Table Hold. Let's go have a conversation with our friend back here.
Well, I took you no matter it's all the same. Out your own.
And let's go ahead and upgrade our short bow to +8. That is excellent. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Church of Ella just as a standard stopping point. And we'll wrap up this video and talk about what we're going to do in the next one. So in the next one, as I mentioned, we're going to make a trip through Caelid. Now, we haven't ever stepped through Caelid. Caelid is an extremely dangerous place, especially at this low level that we're at right now. We are going to level up a little bit here real quickly before we make that trip. But we're primarily going there to get access to 2 merchants. One that gives us fire arrows, or sells us fire arrows. One that sells us poison arrows. We are going to be collecting some points of grace, a map piece, as well as a golden seed. And then there is a very important talisman that we're going to be getting a hold of as well. So we're going to be making some changes here to our inventory. Let's go ahead and go straight up short bow and longbow. And then we will carry the hatchet just as a precaution. We do need to restock up on our arrows, so let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then we're going to level up.
Always.
Okay.
Goodbye.
2,900. Let's see what we can do for levels. We should be able to get 2, maybe 3 more levels. So let's put a minimum of 2 points into Vigor to give us more hit points, as well as to increase our defense power, not by much, but a little bit. And then let's go ahead and put in an extra point into Mind, as we have been using a lot of focus. And with both Barrage and Mighty Shot, we're going to be using focus there as well. Now, we actually have a ton of golden runes that we've been collecting as well. And we are going to collect some more here. But I just wanted to go ahead and get us a few levels before we go into the next video. So I'll see you in the next segment.